Welcome to a new edition of Positively Douglasville. I'm Rochelle Robinson, Mayor of the City of Douglasville. I cannot tell you how excited I am. I'm trying to hold in my excitement because I have a dear friend here today to talk to me, Superior Court Judge Beau McClain, and he is here. We're going to talk about Operation Christmas and other things, other great things. So welcome.
So glad to be here, Mayor.
Thank you. Thank you for, yes, sir. Thank you for coming. You are such a blessing. I don't know what to say except for you're just a blessing. You're kind of like King David to me. You know, today I try to read a psalm and proverb every day, the day of the week that it is, like today's the 15th, and I'll read that proverb. And so, but I thought about, I was listening to a message while I was, getting ready, and it was about Psalm 51. And we had a recent prayer vigil, and that's the psalm that you talked about. And it was David when he made a great mistake, and he asked God to create in him a new heart and renew a right spirit. And it was just, wow, if we could do that, if we can just turn to God and ask him to help us. And I'm not trying to preach, but you remind me of King David. That's what that whole thing was about. And the reason why I say that is because you sit on that bench, but your heart is for God. And so, Operation Christmas.
Thank you. I feel a lot more like a servant than a king,
Well,
which is fine.
Yes, sir. Well, you have both hats. Yeah, but I think your servant hat, you have your judge robe on, but the servant is pushing through a whole lot. Yeah, more recent times. And so Operation Christmas, this is the 4th year that's coming up. And I would like for you just to tell our viewing audience about it. I know it's about underprivileged children in the community and how, the other day I called you Father Christmas or Mr. Santa Claus or something. So if you tell us about Operation Christmas, please.
Well, what we do is we serve Douglas County children who are on free and reduced price meals through the school system, who are in the Head Start program, who are receiving WIC and other services at the health department.
Yes, sir.
And the reason for that is our effort is to target truly needy families, families that have been looked at and found to need a little bit of help.
Yes, sir.
And Christmas time is a great time to help folks. So what we do is we give these families the opportunity to register to receive gifts. And at the school system, they register through the school website. And the registration closes tomorrow, so people need to hurry up.
Oh my goodness.
We've been registering since August.
Yes.
And you can also register your kids at the health department if you're receiving services there. And then what happens is we issue what we call golden tickets.
Yeah, it's like Willy Wonka.
Exactly. I kind of stole that from them, to be honest with you.
People relate.
But it's an actual golden ticket, and it directs the family to come to a certain location, such as the Douglasville Police Department.
Yes, sir.
Sheriff's Department, First Presbyterian Church, First United Methodist, the Catholic Church in Lithia Springs, my church, Church of Chapel Hill, Crossroads Church.
Yes, sir.
We've got about 30 venues.
Wow.
Every Christian denomination in town has joined together to help the kids at Christmas.
We can come together as believers in different denominations and that's a miracle within itself.
It really is, and that's really where the heart of the work is,
Yes, sir.
Mayor. Of course, I want to help the kids at Christmas and help the families, but the overarching goal for me personally is community unity.
Yes, sir.
How can we come together as a community in a positive project that helps people? And Operation Christmas for me is just a great way to do that.
Yes, sir. And they're unwrapped.
Yes, unwrapped. And if your church doesn't participate, we have donation boxes all over town that are hard not to find.
Yeah.
And we just encourage everyone to pitch in and help.
Yeah. And I think that makes a child feel like they're on the same playing field. They don't feel less than. They have that joy at Christmas. It takes some pressure off the parents that may not be able to give or buy their children something at Christmas, that at least they'll have something that's brand new, unwrapped for them. It isn't a hand-me-down, and for my husband, and he wouldn't mind me saying this, he grew up in Atlanta. There were 6 children in his family, and his parents got divorced. And he was 2 years old when his parents divorced. And he's the baby out of the 6. And so their lifestyle just totally changed. Their mother the father got remarried. The mom was trying to raise 6 kids by herself. And he said they had to go at Christmas time. He remembers going to a place and they just handed him a bag. It was a brown paper bag. And he grew up in Atlanta. And he said, and you know, one year I remember looking in the bag and it was a doll. He said they didn't even care enough. He said, first of all, it's humiliating to stand in a line with a whole lot of other kids that lived in, you know, subsidized housing. And then we had to walk in this line. We all knew we were poor together. He said, and we got a bag, and it was a brown bag. He said, and when I got back in the car, I looked in the bag, and it was a doll. He said, they didn't care enough to even see that I was a boy, and they gave me a girl's gift. They just handed the kids something. And it was nice that they tried to do that. But I think this brings another level of respect and care that you're looking at that child and, you know, paying attention to them and letting them feel like they're not getting something that's just, here's just any old thing, but something that really means something to them.
We match the gifts by both age and gender.
Yes, sir.
So, and we're guided by what the age is on the gift. So, for example, if you're a boy between the ages of 8 to 12, you might get a Nerf gun because
cool.
Nerf guns are targeted at that demographic.
Yeah.
So it's very deliberate the way we do it to make sure that each child gets at least something that will be a blessing to them. And if I can add one other thing.
Please.
One thing that gets me emotional almost every year are the stories we hear about children who would not have received anything but for Operation Christmas. And last year, I had a school teacher in the Douglas County schools email me to let me know that one of the children in her class was so excited because she had gotten a golden ticket.
Yeah.
And that meant that she was going to get a Christmas present.
Wow.
And the teacher sort of didn't realize what the child was saying, like, okay, yes, you're going to get a Christmas present. And she said, well, this is the first time I've ever gotten a Christmas present.
Wow.
So we hear those stories every year, and it certainly motivates us to work hard to bless all the children in our community that need help.
Wow. Well, thank you so much for doing that. I mean, you're like people, God is real, and they can see him through the works that we do. And so you're the hands of God in this community, not only for Operation Christmas, but there's so many other things. And you don't do this to get any accolades. I believe God just placed it on your heart. And so I wanted to kind of transition to some other things. I think you're...
Well, I want to show you a toy first.
Oh, please show me a toy.
Can I show you a toy?
Yes, please do.
You know, I said I've got to bring a toy.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
So this is going to be one of our gift boxes that has some scripture inside, which is
my goodness.
donated
For God
to
so
us.
loved the world that he gave his only begotten son. Who's
Amen. So I thought I'd bring
wow.
this tank.
That's a
and
cool tank.
The reason I wanted to bring it is because if I can remember how to turn it on.
Whoa! Boop, boop, boop. I love it.
I think that's really cool.
Yeah, look at your face.
But
You're
what
excited.
I wanted to say, Mayor, is talking about Christmas. A lot of people might say it's just a toy.
Yeah.
And
This is cool.
I started thinking about that recently, and I came across a quote from J.M. Barrie, who wrote Peter Pan. And Barrie said, in reference to the word just, what a horrible candle snuffing word. That's like saying he can't climb that mountain, he's just a man. Or that's not a diamond, it's just a rock. And for a child in need, it's not just a toy.
Wow.
It may be a friend
Yeah.
when you're lonely.
Yeah.
It unlocks imagination. It brings the family together over a Monopoly game or a Scrabble game. It's really not just a toy.
Yeah.
It's so much more. And I'm so happy to be involved with this and so happy to be involved with the city of Douglasville.
No, thank you. It is more than just a toy. It's hope. And it's showing that someone cares, you know, outside of your family. And it's really giving that child something tangible to see, that somebody thinks about them and they see them. Because a lot of times you can be invisible if you're not where other people think you are, where you think you should be. So it isn't just a toy. Wow, just is we have to stop using just, huh? It's belittling.
It's a limiting word. It limits possibility and creativity and excitement and imagination and hope, as you said.
Wow. Now, okay, so we're going to transition to all these other things that you do that people may not know. First of all, you've been a judge since 2008.
10 years.
10 years.
Yes, ma'am.
So you dress differently, you know. When people may see you with a robe on, it looks kind of strange to see you in a suit or a suit jacket.
Well, I almost wore sweatpants and a sweatshirt today,
No
but
way.
I thought, well, the mayor probably wouldn't like that.
No, sir. But in those 10 years, I think that all this philanthropic, more than it's just like a heart thing, was started with Hurricane Katrina. Is that true?
Exactly. So I went out, didn't know what to do, really. They were at Deer Lick Park, and I just went over there and I just observed. And I saw people being prayed for. I saw clothes being gathered, people being fed. I organized a group of people to do a meal once a week at one of the local hotels where they were staying. And so we formed relationships with some of these folks, and as they started moving into apartments and duplexes and rental houses, they needed stuff.
Yeah.
And no one else was doing this, so me and a local real estate agent, Mr. Paul Zakis, decided we'll just take our pickup truck and we'll go pick up appliances and furniture and beds from people that are willing to give it to us, and we'll take it to these folks and share the gospel and pray with them.
Yeah.
And a wise man once told me, Mayor, that if you want a successful ministry, you need to find out where your community has an itch and scratch it. So we realized no one else was doing what we proposed to do, and there was a need.
Wow.
A lot of single moms in transition, a lot of folks coming out of homelessness and then establishing a place to live, but they just don't have the resources to provide more than a pallet or an air mattress for their child.
Yeah.
So we started doing this, and we've been doing it now for 10 years, every weekend.
That's what I know. People don't understand when someone comes to their door and out of the back of their pickup truck that it's the Superior Court judge dropping off a refrigerator or a stove or some type of appliance. And so that is, I don't know what to say. Again, it's the hand of God. I mean, you're showing it's not just talking the talk, but you're walking the walk, and you're putting something tangible in that person's life. You know, and that and sharing the gospel is more than just saying, you don't say, go away and be blessed, come back for another day and get a drink of water. You're giving them water today, so thank you for that. It's just awesome.
The people, I'll tell you, the people that I've sentenced, when I show up at their house, they look at me and they say, you sent me to prison, what are you doing here? And I say, I'm bringing you a refrigerator.
Wow.
And it's a powerful witness. And I will tell you that I've encountered many people on the street, on the north side, the east, the west, the south, every trailer park, every apartment complex, every set of duplexes in Douglas County. I've been there multiple times.
Wow.
And everyone is nice to me.
Oh, wow.
Everyone treats me with hospitality, and they're friendly, and
Yes, sir.
they're glad to see us, and nobody holds a grudge over me having to do my job as a judge or a prosecutor when I did that. And sometimes, recently, for example, me and two guys with me were the last people that a lady saw before she died the next day.
Really?
We went to a lady's house to serve her, and she was in a tough situation, and we were able to show her love and compassion
Beautiful.
and take care of her and listen to her. And then she passed away the next day.
Wow.
So you just never know the impact you're going to have when you serve someone.
That's right. That's right. Oh my goodness. Okay, I'm trying to keep it together. So you do that, and you have a heart for the homeless.
Yes, I do.
Yeah, so you and I, our last lunch that we had, we talked about how the city can help and partner with you with the Sanctuary Village that the county is helping you to do. So if you can talk to us about the homeless in our community. It's a growing problem, and it's one of my passions as well. And I thought, you know, not like I would make $1 million, but it's something that, as prosperous as we are in America, we still have homelessness. And so it's part of our community as it is across the country. But you've decided to do something very unique. And if you talk to us about the Sanctuary Village and how it's going to really be a hand up and not a handout. Because if you have a handout, they're going to come back tomorrow and keep begging, and, you know, because there are so many circumstances. It's such a layer of an onion that just giving them something for a day is not teaching them how to fish. So if you can just describe for us the Sanctuary Village. We know where it's going to be located. They're at the courthouse now, and just all of that with the homeless.
Thank you very much,
You're
Mayor.
welcome.
You know, doing ministry out here for years and also being in the legal system, I've personally served the homeless. I've observed the homeless. I've sentenced them.
Yes, sir.
I've prosecuted them. I've helped people who are helping them. And the one thing I saw was that it doesn't seem to change. We have a constant population of unsheltered persons who are living in tents in the woods.
Yeah.
And when we started our drug court a few years ago and had the resources to do programming, to do addiction treatment, mental health treatment, case management, GED,
Yes.
community service,
Yes.
and accountability when you don't do what you're
Accountability.
supposed to do.
That's right.
The idea hit me to merge the two, to take an existing structure that's already there and already being paid for by the taxpayer through the Georgia legislature and the county commission, and bring that structure to the homeless population to give them that hand up
Yes, sir.
instead of that handout. And as we have been doing drug court, we observed that about 20% of our participants coming into the program are in fact homeless.
Wow.
So we realized we had to do some things to provide housing. We worked with Pastor Edwin Ford at
Yes.
Crossroads for Life to utilize some of the housing he has. It always was inadequate and not enough. It's tough to get a person back on their feet,
Yeah.
employed, driver's license, and all those things if you're in a tent and you can't
Yeah.
even bathe properly
Yeah.
or have clean clothes.
Yeah.
So we decided to create housing over at the landfill. And we are taking trailers that were donated to us through the school system and the county to save money, and we're converting them into individual housing units,
Yes.
4 per trailer. And we're going to give the homeless an opportunity, if they will do our program,
Right.
if they will play by our rules, then we're going to give them housing and a chance
Chance.
to reclaim their lives. If
Amen.
they don't, then we'll remove them from our housing and remove them from our program. But we will have at least tried to do something about the problem.
Yes, sir.
You know, a lot of people in Douglasville complain about the homeless. I know that you receive those complaints. I know the sheriff does. I know the police chief does. But what's the answer?
Yeah.
Is the answer to incarcerate them for life? They've got to be somewhere.
Yeah.
So let's see if we can turn them into law-abiding, productive citizens. We've succeeded in the drug court. We're going to give this a chance
Yes, sir.
and see if we can succeed with the homeless.
I believe we will succeed because it's really thought out and it's comprehensive. Like you're saying, there's a discipline. You have to, it's accountability. you have structure, and I don't know if some have had structure for a long time, if you're in a tent, but you have to do what you need to do to be, and sometimes you just need a map to kind of help us to navigate to do better. So I believe it will help. Now, I went to the graduation on Tuesday, so that's a whole nother
So
avenue.
great to see you.
Oh, well, thank you so much. So talk to us about those accountability courts, and those are drug courts, mental health, and what's the other one?
Right now it's drug and mental health.
Okay.
That's exactly right.
And we're thinking about veterans one day. We're going to try to.
We are thinking about veterans, and we're also thinking about some other avenues. But the basic structure of a drug or a mental health court is that you take someone who is facing prison for their crime.
Wow.
Their record, the circumstances of their crime dictate that they have to go to prison. And they have an actual negotiated plea sentence that's presented to them. That person, if they have addiction as a life-controlling issue, or mental health as a life-controlling issue that fuels their criminality, then what we do is we have them plead guilty. I handle the drug offenders. Judge Cynthia Adams handles the mental health offenders. And then we put them in an 18-month program that includes classes, curriculum. It includes individual and group therapy. It includes more drug testing than any other drug court in the state of Georgia.
Really?
Here in Douglas County. We test more than anyone does.
Gosh.
It involves community service. There's an educational component. You have to either get your GED through West Central Tech or an equivalent amount of education in some other field like mechanic, cosmetologist, dental assistant.
Oh, great.
And if you make it through the program, your charges are dismissed. If we remove you from the program, you go do your time. You receive your sentence. So the accountability is critical to get people incentivized to do what they need to do that's in their best interest. So we're going to take that structure and offer it to the homeless. And I'm going to make a prediction to you.
Okay, what's the prediction?
There's some homeless people who will just say no, reject everything we have to offer. There's some that will say yes and they won't make it. And then there's some that will say yes and will make it. And I think those people are worth saving, and we need to try.
Amen.
But a lot of our drug court people would amaze you at what some of them have accomplished. We've had we had 22 graduates when you attended the other night, but we've had graduates that one man who has never had a paycheck job in his entire life.
Because of addiction.
Exactly. He's just been a thief.
Yeah.
And he's in his late 50s. He now has an actual paycheck job with withholding and taxes and everything.
Isn't that great?
He has a driver's license.
Wow.
We have a graduate who obtained a college degree and is a paralegal at a downtown Atlanta law firm.
Wow.
We've got a graduate who's a certified electrician, one who's a certified plumber.
Are you serious? That's great.
There's story after story of if you just give someone a chance and a helping hand, many people will take advantage.
That's great.
And get their issues under control. And think about their moms, their dads, their kids. If you're one of these people that just thinks that they're drug addicts, nobody can do anything for them, why should we spend the time and money? My answer to you is, what about their children? What about their mom? What about their dad? What about their spouse? Can we at least do something for them? Because people who are captive to addiction and mental health problems, they have people that love them, but who feel very helpless because they don't know what to do.
Oh my goodness. And how do they get chosen? It's up to you when they come before you. Do you just look at their pattern of repeat offenses and you see something more in them? How do you choose?
That's a great question.
Wow.
We don't take people that are violent.
Okay.
We don't take people who have committed sex offenses.
Okay.
We do consider people that live here in Douglas County, who the prosecutor and the defense lawyer and the defendant all have to agree that we will present this case for consideration. And then we do an assessment using professional evidence-based assessment tools to determine if that person really does need substance abuse treatment for a significant addiction issue or mental health issue. And if the assessment shows they do, then we take them.
Beautiful. Beautiful. You're giving them a second chance. It's forgiveness.
Drug courts have been around America now for over 20 years. So we've had time to study it. We've had universities and think tanks and researchers who've looked at a drug court offender that goes in and graduates, and then what happens a year later, 5 years later, 10 years later. And the data is there that if we hit the marks we're required to hit by the state, and they audit us, they check us, we do constant reporting of everything we do to them. If we hit those marks, we're going to have more success than we're going to have failure.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for allowing Douglas County to be a model for compassion in trying to help someone and trying to give people an opportunity and a second chance and forgiveness. If we can't forgive and give people an opportunity, God's not going to forgive us. So you're looking at them as a human being. And you can look at them through this prism of sitting on that bench for 10 years and prosecuting for 27.
Exactly.
Yeah, you can look at them through the prism of homicide, armed robbery, drug trafficking, organized crime, murder, but you don't. I mean, I know you do your job, but the compassionate part, that's why I'm saying that servanthood is busting through. I think it's an S on your chest, a servant. It's busting through the, the robe of judicial. So it's a balance. It's a balance. And it's really like Lady Justice. She isn't peeking through her blind. She's really, you're using your heart to balance out the law.
Well, it makes dollars and cents. When you look at how much money it costs to incarcerate someone versus how much money it costs to provide treatment, it's a no-brainer in terms of the financial aspects of it. But the other thing, Mayor, is that drug courts came about when criminal justice practitioners like me, over a long period of time, said, what are we doing? We're sending the same people to prison over and over again for the same crime. We're not fixing anything. We're not solving the problem. We're just spinning our wheels. So a lot of folks in the criminal justice system decided to try to merge the disciplines of treatment with the discipline of the court. And the court I have a heavy stick.
Wow.
You know, if you test positive, we're going to put you in jail for a couple days.
Wow.
And try to encourage you to stop using. In Douglas County, we like to innovate. Other counties are already looking to us to learn things. Counties all over the state have learned about what we're doing in housing and want to imitate us.
Oh, great.
We have aggressively addressed the opiate overdose situation. We have some of our participants receiving the medication that prevents them from feeling anything if they take an opiate through a grant at St. Jude's Hospital in downtown Atlanta. So we're trying to do everything that can be done to address this issue.
Wow. Whew. You got to come back.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much for everything that you do, and thank you for just being who you are. It's a blessing. You're a beacon of light. You're tall, you know, kind of, I'm telling you, King David, you don't understand. But just being such a blessing to us and being a great role model and an example in our community of what we can be if we look beyond the obvious, which is, yes, there are issues. Yes, you've broken the law, but let me just try to, like you said, unify us so that we'll all be better. And we'll try to rise and do better. I think if you have a higher expectation of people, they'll rise to that expectation if they really want to. And you're giving us a roadmap to do that. by looking at the least of these and not just, you're a polished 37-year marriage, beautiful family, successful. You can live that life and go to galas and, be called out that you're the Superior Court judge. But you put your hands down, you roll up your sleeves and help someone. And it gives an example for all of us to rise up and do better, to bring our community up. So thank you very much for that.
Well, I like to get things done.
Yes,
and
sir.
when I see something that needs to be done that's doable, I say, why not?
Yeah. Well, thank you. I think you said something at the graduation that it wasn't a dry eye in the house when you said something about looking at that person as a person.
Every person can be redeemed.
There you go.
There are no exceptions.
Wow. And that's, I try to look at the good in people, even the most cantankerous, elderly person. My mother was in the nursing home before she passed, and some people were kind of cranky and mean, but you try to look at the good in them, and I think that's what you see. So I appreciate that.
Well, the public, of course, does know and needs to know that we send a lot of people to prison.
I know.
And we send a lot of people to prison in Douglas County, and public safety is always been a hallmark of Douglas County.
It has been.
From Sheriff Earl Lee to Sheriff Tim Pounds.
Yes, sir.
Our law enforcement and Chief Sparks take care of business. And we take care of it at the courthouse too. But there's a certain group of people that have the potential to walk away from criminality. And when they do, everyone wins.
That's right. That's right. That's beautiful. Now, is there anything else you want to say to us and just tell us about how people can participate in Operation Christmas? I told you yesterday I received a phone call, and the person said, I wanted to give, and I'm not sure about Toys for Tots or this. And I said, I know the perfect place that you can volunteer your time and give some unwrapped gifts. So if you can I know we talked about all those places that people can drop off those gifts, or where the recipients receive them at the Sheriff's Department and City Hall, the Police Department, churches, Chamber of Commerce, but how can people in Douglas County and beyond give to Operation Christmas?
Well, the best thing to do is to contact us through our Facebook page.
Okay.
And let me tell you how our Facebook page got named.
Okay.
So we were at our warehouse one Christmas, and we had a lot of church youth there, and a very dear young lady that I go to church with jumped up and said, "Woo-hoo, we're the Elf Squad." And so I said, I love that.
Yeah.
So we created a Facebook page called The Elf Squad.
Okay.
And that's where you can learn all about Operation Christmas, from how to donate, where, volunteer opportunities. So come see us on Facebook, and we'll talk to you.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Judge. And I don't mind saying this, I don't want to embarrass you, but I love you. Thank you for being who you are. God bless you. If there's anything I can ever do, please let me know. And we're going to try to help with the Sanctuary Village.
All right. Well, I love you too.
God bless you. Thank you. Have a wonderful day.
You too.
Yes, sir. This has been another edition of Positively Douglasville. God bless you during this time of the year. Please look beyond giving to yourself and your family, and give to someone else. It's a beautiful time to show unity and love this time of year. People won't look at you funny if you give on Christmas time. God bless you. Welcome. Thank you.